We're going to start with the black thread. So in your stuff, you have a little foam cylinder, looks about like that.
Yep.
Brown, black, tan. Okay. So we're going to start with the black thread. I can see my threads come off my. Got to have an end to it somewhere here. So we want to lay down. Let me get the thread here in the bobbin. So I'm going to start about halfway down the shank of my hook.
Okay.
And we'll take that thread backwards to the bend of the hook. So these are barbless hooks, so we're going to pretend where the barb is.
Okay.
On most all hooks, the barb is located exactly opposite of where the bend starts.
Right. I remember that.
But since we're using a curved hook today, we sort of figure out, you can see where I've got my thread dropped down there. So about right here, that would be about where the barb would be in this hook.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring that forward just up to the point of the hook. I'll just lay a little thread base in there.
All right, I'm with you.
So I'm going to take that piece of foam and lay it right where my thread is. And I'm going to catch it right there. I'm going to wrap backwards to where that barb was. And then we'll bring my thread forward again so the foam is just sticking out the back end.
Okay, so you went back to the end of the thread, then come back up.
Yeah. So I went back to where I was about. I just tied it down to about where the barb was, and then brought it back.
All right. Well, I just broke my line, or my thread rather.
So what we're using is what they call closed sail foam. They also have one here called open sail foam.
Oh, okay.
It's a foam, but it will let it sink more. Now, ants are quite unique in they don't float on top of the water and they don't sink to the bottom. And the reason we like this curved hook is what we're tying in right now, this piece of foam we're going to tie in is called a gaster, Gaster, which actually is the rear part of the ant. It's usually a big bubble.
Okay, yeah.
But they call it a gaster, and then he has a thorax, and then he has a head or a main body up there. So the biggest thing in ants is that we have an empty hook up here with nothing on it.
Okay.
If you ever looked at an ant, the middle of it's got nothing there. It has a thorax up in the front with a head, and it has that big bubble on the tail that we call a gaster. So once I've got this in place, I've got it tied down real good right there. I'm keeping my thread right about the point of my hook.
Okay.
So I'm going to bend this over like this. And I'm not going to stretch it too much, but I'm going to catch it right there.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is now tie that down right there with about 4 wraps. And that's going to be the gaster. Now taking my thread and go under it right here. Okay.
Okay.
Once it's tied down, I'm gonna stretch it just a little bit, not too much. And bring my scissors in here and cut it off clean.
All right, I'm with you.
So now I'm gonna take my thread all the way back up to the eye of the hook, and I'm gonna whip finish it. We're done with black.
Oh, okay.
So now it's tied off.
You just do one whip on it?
I usually do about 3 wraps on the whip, on that one whip. And the biggest reason is in just a second, I'm going to tie right on top of it with red thread.
Okay.
So now I've got red thread. I'm starting right behind the eye, and I'm going to wrap it all the way back to where I tied in that gaster. And then we'll come back up to the front. And then we'll go start back again. So I'm splitting the difference between where the gaster ended
Mm-hmm.
and where the eye of the hook is. So I split that difference. I'm about halfway up there. And a trick here, because it's a curved hook, is reset your hook so the front of the hook is up higher than it was when I started it. It's sort of evened up now to work on.
Okay.
And I gave you a piece of rope. Big long piece of white rope there. You see that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So if you take that piece of white rope and take your scissors, we're going to unravel it. I'm going to go in and stick my scissors in here and push it, pull up, and unravel those pieces so they come out.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take one of those pieces out just like that.
All right, got it.
So what we're going to make is a post, but what I'm going to do, this is way too big. So I'm going to actually split this in half from what it is. So now I've only got half of it.
Okay.
All right. So right where my thread is hanging, I'm going to put one wrap to hold that up there. And I'll give it 2. I'm just going to make sure I've got it where I want it right there. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So what we call this a post, because what we're going to do in a minute, when we get done, we're going to wrap a feather around the post going up it. Instead of like normally we wrap it on the hook.
Uh-huh.
So now the feather is laying flat on top of the ant. So what happens when we put it in the water, that feather is going to sit on top of the water, and that ant's going to do what he naturally does. He's going to hang just below the surface.
Okay.
Which would be natural for him. So once I've got this up this way, now I'm going to go around that post. Now I turn my thing towards me to do this. Okay. So I'm going to go from the bottom and work my way up. And I'm only go up maybe 1/16 of an inch. And we'll make it nice and tight as I go up here. Okay.
Fingers are almost too big for this.
Yes. It takes some practice to do this. So once I get up there just a little ways, now I'm gonna go back down it to the bottom, just making another layer of thread on there, okay? So now I've got a post that sits right on top of the hook, see that? I've got red around it going up.
Yeah, I was doing pretty good, but I just broke my thread again.
Uh-oh. Might be your bobbin.
No, I think it's my hand putting friction on the spool. So do I got to restart that post, do you think, or should I just keep going right around it?
You probably can just keep going right around it. You can start around it because you're gonna wrap on top of it and that'll hold it in place. I'm gonna have one more zoom left in there or not. Nope, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, I'm with you.
All right, so you should have a piece of peacock herl there, or feather,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take that and just catch it, go underneath my thing and catch it and double it over on my thread. Like this right here.
Okay.
So now I'm gonna, once I've got that there, I'm gonna wrap it around. I'm just gonna go once on this side and once on the front side. Okay. And I'm gonna tie it off. That's all it takes, one little wrap front and back. Okay. And then we'll cut it off. And that gives me the other part of the body, the thorax.
All right, I'm getting a little close to the eyeball there.
Yeah, I just do one wrap right around your post, on each one behind it, one in front of it's all it takes.
All right, and then you do a whip finish or you just wrap it?
No, I just wrap it a couple of times with the thread to hold it in place.
All right, I'm there.
All right, next thing you need is your grizzly feather.
Got it.
So I'm gonna take my grizzly feather here and pull some of these fibers back down out of the way. And I've got about 2.5 inches or so there. I'm gonna pull some of those fibers off right here. Okay. Now, there's a debate of which way to hold that. You've got a concave and convex side. So the shiny side is the top of the outside of that feather. The dull side is the bottom. You want the dull side to be out.
Okay.
So I'm going to lay it right here on this side, right next to my post at a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to catch it with the thread right here on the side closest to me. And then I'm going to catch it behind the post with a wrap and bring my thread back to the front again.
Okay.
All right. So if I've done that well, I can take this right here off. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And what we're going to do is wrap this feather around that post. Just like that. Now I've got enough wraps. I'm going to come it right here. So I'm going to bring my thread up and try and get under everything and go around behind it. And we'll do that again. So we're working it through all the fibers there. One more time. That's going to hold it in place. I can now take that out. Okay.
So how many wraps did you go around the post?
I did about 4 wraps, 4 or 5 wraps around the post. This fly was originally designed by a gentleman in South Africa. He goes by the term feather mechanic. His name is Gordon Van Der SpuyAnt. He's got a couple of books published on fly tying, and both of them are great. I've got both of them. Actually, one of them being redone right now, but he's updating his first volume. So he designed this fly, and he called it the Easy Peasy Ant. This was his book here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the inside of it, though, the way it's written, you can see how it's written like this right there. It's really easy to read. His tying is very good. You'll find him on YouTube too.
So you, after you, I didn't see when you cut that off. Did you didn't tie it down yet, right?
Well, I didn't tie my thread down, but I tied off my feather.
Okay.
So I did my feather. I went around towards the back this way so I could catch it. So I'm ready to tie it off. So what I'm going to do is hold the front of the feather up and come up here to the front of it with my thread right here. I'm going to get a couple of wraps in there. And this is where it causes us to cuss a lot. Because we're going to do a whip finish under that feather. Okay. It's just a matter of getting it up under there. A couple of times. I got him where I want him. I can tie it off. So now what I'm going to do is come underneath it and add just a touch of glue on the underside. That way I don't get glue up on my feather.
Okay.
I can get a touch right there. Get it with my handy dandy cooking light. And it's not going anywhere now.
That's a pretty cool little fly.
Now that we've done all that, we've got to give him a haircut. That little post up there, as pretty as it looks, is a little bit long. So all we need on the post is about a 1/16 of an inch sticking up above that feather. Or thereabouts. Like that.
Okay.
And it's done. It's ready to go fishing.
Well, give me a second. I'll show you what I got. I think the next one, I just need to stay a little bit further back.